Good morning, everyone. Can someone tell me whether my voice is clear and is this screen clearly visible to all of you? Okay. So welcome to today's session, and today we'll be doing current affairs. Of 10th as well as 11th March. Okay. So before going this, going towards current affairs, I hope all of you guys must have, revised that ombudsman scheme, annual report, उसको अच्छे से याद कर लेना. Okay, so these reports by Reserve Bank of India, not only with respect to ombudsman scheme, but also other reports like currency and finance, even annual report, financial stability report, some indices, all those things are important. इसमें से एक भी चीज़ नहीं छोड़नी है, सारी चीज़ें करके रखनी है. And because most probably the questions will come from these reports only. And with respect to circulars, tomorrow we will be doing 16th till 29th February circulars. ठीक है, तो इसका लेक्चर कल रहेगा. And on Saturday we will be doing MCQs on RBI circulars from January and February. ठीक है, we will conduct a marathon session with respect to this. So this is the agenda not only for today but also for upcoming 2 days as well. Now in ESI it is. In ESI, schemes and reports weightage is more than static. ठीक है, चलो let's start with the current affairs. So the first current news is with respect to annual wage hike or the agreement between Indian Banks Association as well as the bank employees, in which you can see that favorable terms with respect to working conditions as well as salaries have been provided to the bank employees. As you can see, 17% annual wage hike has been approved. And apart from that, Saturday is off. Finally, 5 days a week has been approved in case of banking. Okay. Next we have this 17% increase will attract 8,284 crores for public sector banks deployment from central government. Okay, and apart from that, holiday recognition we've already discussed. Revised working hours will be, wherever it will be notified. Leave policy in context of women especially, at least 1 day sick leave per month without medical certificate is allowed, and privilege leave encashment is only up to 255 days at retirement or death of an employee. Okay, so this is the news. Next news is with respect to a small finance bank talking about its deposit rates as well as its lending rates. Okay, in context of deposit rates, the AU Small Finance Bank is saying that we will not be able to increase the deposit rates, which is right now currently at 7.25% or near about that percentage only. उन्होंने कहा है कि रेपो रेट जितना बढ़ चुका है 6.5%, वो सारा बेनिफिट वी ऑलरेडी प्रोवाइडेड टू द कस्टमर्स. अब रेपो रेट ही नहीं बढ़ रहा है तो उससे ज़्यादा हम लोग क्या दे दें? उससे ज़्यादा अगर हम लोग देंगे तो हम लोग को लॉस होगा. ओके, Okay. So it is in this context only. AU Small Finance Bank says that there will be no further hike on deposits rate due to complete pass-through of benefit associated with repo rate hike. And then with respect to microfinance portfolio, in which AU Small Finance Bank says that we will be imposing 25% lending rate, because we think that the microfinance sector is associated or characterized with huge risk associated with it. आपको पता ही है कि small ticket size उसमें loan amount रहता है, तो you do not get huge amount as a revenue until unless you put it huge interest rates. Then apart from that, these loans are very risky as well. There is a huge cases of default risk associated with those type of microfinance lending. ठीक है, तो in order to cover all those risks, 25% interest rates AU Small Finance Bank will be deploying under every loan portfolio of microfinance. Okay, so the current savings deposit rate in the AU Small Finance Bank is 7.25%, and we've recently seen the news as well that Fincare Small Finance Bank will be merged with AU Small Finance Bank, and this will make the total balance sheet to 1.2 trillion rupees by the end of March 2024. ठीक है. Next is HDB Financial Services debt capital raise. ठीक है, so HDB Financial Services, ठीक है, HDB Financial Services is like a small arm or subsidiary of HDFC Bank. Okay, so this HDB Financial Services is planning to raise 12,500 crores of debt capital to support business growth. अब debt capital को raise करने के लिए what are different ways? Can anyone tell? How many of you have? We've discussed this in ample amount of time. In order to raise debt, what are the various ways through which you can raise debt? Anyone? Bonds, correct? देखो पहले तो आप इसमें always demarcate in terms of short term or long term, isn't it? The short term, you all know, we have commercial papers. In long term, we can always talk about corporate bonds or sometimes debentures as well. और there are various direct loans as well. ये तो market से raise करने वाली बात हो गई. अगर loan direct ले रहे हैं, so that is regular debt. Then there is a category also called subordinate debt. And also perpetual debt. Now, in context of this news, the HDB Financial Services will be raising debt via these two methodologies. Okay? So we'll try to understand what subordinate debt is and what perpetual debt is. Perpetual debt, though, anyways, you can understand from the meaning of the term perpetual itself. What does perpetual means? And we've also heard about perpetuity bonds. What do we mean by that? Anyone? Perpetual का मतलब क्या होता है? It's like a never ending or continuing. अगर normal meaning देखोगे, but if you see the meaning in context of, let's say, debt, so there will be no maturity period in context of perpetual debt. That means जब तक कंपनी चल रही है तब तक वो आपको इंटरेस्ट पे करती रहेगी. ओके, बट दीज बॉन्ड्स आर नॉट रिडीमेबल. दैट मीन्स प्रिंसिपल आप नहीं मांगोगे. ओके, Is this clear? So any doubt in perpetual debt to anyone? The next is रेगुलर डेट. तो रेगुलर डेट तो सिंपल सी बात है. जो आप डेट, फॉर एग्जांपल थिंक अबाउट डेट टेकन फ्रॉम अ बैंक at a particular interest rate having a particular maturity period. Now I'll give you a difference in context of subordinate debt. So if we can't So the name is subordinate. Subordinate का मतलब क्या होता है कि regular से नीचे है ना. So same case in this case scenario as well. So it has a lower preference in context of debt. So what does this mean? At least अगर आप on principle by the name, if you want to understand that what's the primary characteristic of this subordinate debt is that once the company will go bankrupt, the preference order in context of receiving money after liquidating of assets of the company, regular debt people will get preference first and then subordinate debt will get preference because this debt is subordinate to the regular debt. ठीक है. तो subordination is in context of preference whenever the or in context of getting money when the company will go bankrupt. ठीक है. अगर आप एक हायरार्की देखोगे, first the creditors will come and within creditors the regular creditor and subordinate debt creditor, और सबसे लास्ट में कौन होता है जिसको पैसा मिलता है अगर मिलेगा तो? Who comes at the last? Whenever company go through liquidation, equity people or shareholders, correct? अगर कुछ बच गया, although बचेगा तो खैर क्या ही, तो shareholders will be receiving. But at least in this hierarchy you understand that regular debt people will be at the top and then subordinate debt people. ठीक है? So this is the primary meaning. And what are the other characteristic? We'll see those things also. Other characteristics are, for example, that these are redeemable only when debtor wants. बेसिकली जब HDB फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज आपको देना चाहेगी तभी आप रिडीम कर सकते हो. इट इज़ नॉट रिडीमेबल ऑन कॉल. ठीक है. जो बंदा है जिन्होंने आपको डेट दिया हुआ है वो मांगने नहीं लग जाएगा कि अब मेरे को प्रिंसिपल दो. ओके. सो दिस इज नॉट द फैसिलिटी एसोसिएटेड विद इट. ओके. एंड टू, so you can imagine that this is a very risky proposition for the lender. लेंडर कहेगा यार एक तो आप सबऑर्डिनेट भी कर रहे हो हमको, ऊपर से क्या कहते हैं हमको रिडीम भी नहीं करने दोगे, तो क्या करें हम, क्यों आपको लोन दें? Naturally this would come as a question that why should we give you the money in form of subordinate debt. So what's the primary reason by which these people can give? Yes, correct. Rate benefits मिलेंगे. So these type of debt usually have higher interest rates to cover all type of risk associated with these provisions. ठीक है. चलो. Now let's see the news. अब न्यूज अच्छे से समझ में आ जाएगी. So this HDB, which is a subsidiary of HDFC Bank, is planning to raise 12,500 crores, having subordinate debt of 12,000 crores and perpetual debt of nearly 500 crores. Okay. The credit rating provided to these company and both of these debt instruments is AAA rating, which is the most prominent rating that any debt can have. Okay, so the rating factors is established presence in retail finance, healthy capitalization, and expected continued support from HDFC Bank. So any issue in this news to anyone? Perpetual debt. प्रायोरिटी लिस्ट में सबसे नीचे आ जाएगा ना, और परपेचुअल डेट में सबसे मेन इंपॉर्टेंट बात होती है देयर इज नो ऑब्लिगेशन ऑन द कंपनी. ठीक है, तो मान के चलते नहीं मिलेगा उन्हें. Is this clear? वो प्रायोरिटी लिस्ट में नीचे आ जाएंगे, बट इट्स नॉट लाइक कि दे विल नॉट रिसीव मनी. दे विल रिसीव मनी, बट दे जस्ट कम जस्ट अबव इक्विटी होल्डर्स. ठीक है, इज दिस क्लियर? चलो, लेट्स मूव ऑन. Next news is with respect to foreign portfolio investors FPI's expansion at the GIFT City. So in order to invest in Indian equities or in order to invest in Indian markets, usually if a foreign investor wants to do that, तो आपको क्या लगता है foreign investor किसे contact करेगा? ये होगा इंडिया, and let's say US investors, European investors, South American investors, Southeast Asian investors, let's say Chinese investors, Japanese investors. Now tell me, people from all these countries, if they want to invest in India or Indian securities markets, what mechanism will these guys adopt in order to do so? कहाँ कंपनी इस्टेब्लिश करेंगे, कहाँ से अपना फंड हाउस चलाएंगे? टेल मी एनी एग्जांपल दैट यू गाइस कैन थिंक. मतलब आप ही सोच लो कि अगर आप यूएस के सिटीजन हो और आपको इंडियन सिक्योरिटीज में इन्वेस्ट करना है, सो व्हाट विल यू गाइस डू? आप मान लीजिए फंड हाउस चलाते हो, आपको इंडियन सिक्योरिटीज में इन्वेस्ट करना है. नॉर्मल मैकेनिज्म क्या है? That you establish a company in India, okay, transfer all your funds, and then funds को utilize करके invest. ये तो क्या normal case scenario. But this is very inefficient way to do so. Why? Because all these compliances will increase cost. ठीक है? It will increase manpower cost, it will increase office construction cost, it will also increase taxation cost. इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करोगे, इंडिया के अंदर फिर आप कमाओगे तो कैपिटल गेन्स तो 10% का वैसे ही हो गया. फिर पैसा अंदर लेके आओगे, उसमें भी फिर आपको लिमिट है, पूरा नहीं लेके आ सकते. So that's an inefficient way. So what these guys usually do, US, यूरोपियन, साउथ अमेरिकन, ये लोग मॉरिशस में अपना ऑफिस एस्टैब्लिश करते हैं, and then they try to invest in Indian securities. ठीक है? Why? Because Mauritius provides you, let's say, 1 to 2% capital gains tax, which is way lower than the 10% capital gains tax that you do in India, and that too long term. तो ये तो इस साइड वालों का हो गया. व्हाट अबाउट दीज इन्वेस्टर्स? ये लोग कहां पे जाके इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, मतलब फनल कहां से करते हैं? दे फनल वाया सिंगापुर, because Singapore also provides less taxation. So this is a usual case scenario right now. तो इस चीज को बंद करने के लिए what did the government did? Or obviously they cannot end this, but they can start something which can induce these investors to come to India directly and do not go to these territories. So what did the government of India do? We do have a very famous city in Gujarat. What is the name of that city? Gift City. Yes, correct. ठीक है. So Gift City will act like these external jurisdictions where the foreign entities can set up their offices, can get benefits of low taxation. All those benefits that these companies or these foreign portfolio investors were having in these external jurisdictions, Government of India is saying, आप इधर आ जाओ, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. We will provide you all those benefits. Just set up your funds over in India. Okay. बहुत minimum commission रहेगा, almost at par with these entities. And if you'll get closer to India, you'll get various other benefits also, such as networking and all those different benefits. Okay. So after this move, foreign portfolio investors were also having, interest in Indian securities में interest तो आपको पता है ये खूब चल रहा है. But to increase their presence, the number of FPIs are also increasing, setting their offices within Gift City. So the news is within this context only, okay, that foreign portfolio investors expansion at Gift City. The number of FPIs registered at Gift International Financial Services Center has doubled in past 4 months. 21 was until October 2023, and now it stood at 41 FPI authorities or FPI agencies in until February 2024. 41 FPIs are registered in the Gift City right now, as of now, which has almost doubled within 4 months as only. So it tells us that they are diverting from these territories to Gift City for doing investments within Indian securities only. सही बात है ना, आप सिंगापुर में बैठ के इंडियन सिक्योरिटीज में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो, यहीं बैठो, दे रखी है हम लोगों ने आपको, सोफा दे रखा, बढ़िया आराम से अंदर बैठो, कोई टैक्सेशन नहीं, कोई रेंट नहीं, बैठ के अपना आराम से इन्वेस्टमेंट करो, ट्रेडिंग करो, पैसा कमाओ, थोड़ा सा कट दे जाना बस. Okay, now what are the various attraction factors कि आए क्यों आ जाए? तो फंड मैनेजर्स are re-domiciling to India's maiden IFSC due to better regulatory clarity and taxation, because we have this IFSCA, which is like a apex regulator in terms of all financial services. अगर आप इंडिया के अंदर डोमेस्टिक टेरिटरी में जाओगे तो we have different regulators for different services, but in Gift City we have IFSCA, that is a sole apex regulator encompassing or regulating every financial services that you can offer within the Gift City. Another thing that Gift City offers: tax flexibility, substance requirements, and leaner compliance compared to traditional tax havens. Okay, so tax flexibility, as all of you know, simple, less taxation. And there are various exemptions with respect to taxation in some type of securities as well. Then we have substance requirements. Substance requirements we've studied in context of news related to Mauritius double taxation avoidance agreement also. So what is a substance requirement? Anyone? When we talk about substance requirement, what do we mean by that? And this is the this was one of the condition within which the Indian government was saying कि आप हर एक कंपनी को चेक करो कि डबल टैक्सेशन अवॉइडेंस एग्रीमेंट के जो प्रोविजंस है वो ढंग से यूज हो रहे हैं कि नहीं हो रहे हैं. थिंक अबाउट इट. व्हाट इज सब्सटेंस रिक्वायरमेंट? चलो, so substance requirement is basically that no company should be like a shell company, कि पेपर पे ना हो, ऑफिस सेटअप हो, लोग बैठे, काम चल रहा हो, सिस्टम्स लगे हो, आपका प्रेजेंस होना चाहिए उस गिफ्ट सिटी में. ठीक है, इट्स नॉट लाइक कि आपने ऑन पेपर रजिस्ट्रेशन कर दिया बट आप काम चला रहे हो मॉरिशस से. ठीक है, सो दिस इज व्हाट द सब्सटेंस रिक्वायरमेंट इज. ठीक है, ऑन पेपर कुछ नहीं, ऑफिस होना चाहिए आपका. वट एवर FPIs दैट आर गेटिंग रजिस्टर्ड, दे शुड हैव एन ऑफिस, दे शुड हैव देयर ऑपरेशंस वट एवर दे आर डूइंग इन इंडिया ओवर इन इंडियन ऑफिसेज ओनली. ठीक है, सो दिस इज व्हाट द सब्सटेंस इज. इज दिस क्लियर टू एवरीवन? सब्सटेंस रिक्वायरमेंट्स, आप कंफ्यूजन तो नहीं होगा? Yes, no. Chalo. So this is another benefits. Next is, what about tax benefits? So investors can access India without a permanent account number. PAN card की जरूरत नहीं है. Derivatives trading strategies enjoy tax exemption. इससे बढ़िया क्या चाहिए? आप derivatives, Indian derivatives में खूब पैसा कमाओ, उसमें टैक्स ही नहीं लगेगा. Easier maintenance of substance requirements for Indian fund managers. ठीक है. Next, opportunities की gift city facilitates global investment while being closer to home, provide avenues for Indian fund managers to set up funds also. ठीक है. It's not like कि only foreign investors you are attracting. You are also attracting Indian fund managers. उनको भी कहो कि आप आके यहाँ बैठ के global investment करो ना. ठीक है. इट्स नॉट लाइक कि आप इधर आके अपने इंडियन इन्वेस्टमेंट पर ही पैसा लगा रहे हो. आप गिफ्ट सिटी में जाओ, ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड, वेर एवर यू वॉन्ट टू इन्वेस्ट, टू दैट इन्वेस्टमेंट. नेक्स्ट इज फैमिली इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड्स. तो व्हाट इज फैमिली इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड्स? आपको सबको पता है कि बहुत सारी इंडिया में फैमिलीज हैं हु आर वेरी वेल्दी रिच, है ना, ह्यूज रिच फैमिलीज. तो उनका पैसा भी कोई मैनेज करता होगा. सो the fund managers who manages these family fund investment funds, they actually manages the wealth of these families. ठीक है. So gift city is saying कि just start, set up your office in gift city and manages your wealth. ठीक है, आपको बाहर भी इन्वेस्ट करना होगा in order to make sure that you achieve growth rate. और इंडिया में तो इन्वेस्टमेंट आपका चल ही रहा है. तो प्लीज सेट अप इन गिफ्ट सिटी ऑल्सो. सो दीज टू, Asim Premji's family office as well as Catamaran Ventures backed by Narayan Murthy, both have set up their offices for setting up family investment funds. ठीक है. Next is nothing but what are the various benefits that the gift city provides you? Regulatory clarity. ठीक है. Increased transparency and clarity on taxation. So is this clear to everyone? What is happening in the gift city? And now tell me, where can you utilize this information in descriptive? आप लोग कहाँ यूज करोगे इसको? The primary thing is that you should utilize this in investments in India, है ना? Then another thing is regulatory clarity in India. Then you should also utilize it in reforms in India. ठीक है. ESI में आते हैं ना क्वेश्चंस, दैट व्हाट आर द गवर्नमेंट डूइंग इन ऑर्डर टू इंक्रीज इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन इंडिया. यू शुड मेंशन इट इन द गवर्नमेंट स्टेप्स टू इंक्रीज इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन इंडिया. डू मेंशन इट ओवर देयर. ये सारी चीजें आपको मेंशन करनी है. दीज आर द थिंग्स इफ यू मेंशन एज एन एग्जांपल इन योर आंसर्स, इट विल क्रिएट अ ह्यूज एज फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू गाइस. ईज ऑफ बिजनेस. ठीक है. बिजनेस ऑफ फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, करेक्ट। यही सब एज दिलाएगा आपको। करंट अफेयर्स हर कोई पढ़ रहा है, कुछ लोग रट रहे हैं कि ऑब्जेक्टिव में नंबर आ जाए, कुछ लोग रट रहे हैं कि ऑब्जेक्टिव और डिस्क्रिप्टिव दोनों में नंबर आ जाए, है ना। तो इट्स जस्ट हाउ यू यूटिलाइज द अमाउंट ऑफ नॉलेज दैट यू आर गेनिंग फ्रॉम हियर। नेक्स्ट इज बैलेंसिंग intellectual property rights with development needs. So this was a book launch was there in which Honorable Finance Minister was also present. She spoke about that how Indian government is balancing the innovation of intellectual property rights with India's development needs also. ठीक है। So basically, as all of you know, in context of intellectual property rights, we have this agreement of WTO called TRIPS. ठीक है, trade related aspect of intellectual property rights, which includes various aspects. For example, that कि IPR अगर एक जगह रजिस्टर हुआ है तो उसका प्रोटेक्शन ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड होना चाहिए, है ना। There are various provisions, and one of the most important provision regarding TRIPS and exemption of TRIPS in context of production of COVID vaccines for the whole world was also taken as an agreement in 12th Ministerial Conference of WTO. Okay, so this is a very important aspect. And apart from this news, Justice Pratibha Singh of Delhi High Court also launched a book on patent law. ठीक है, इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स क्या होते हैं? पेटेंट, ट्रेडमार्क, geographical indication tag, है ना, copyright, all those things. Next is a news with respect to NPCI tying up with Nepal's phone pay. वहां पे भी फोन पे है, बस स्पेलिंग अलग है, ठीक है, for cross border merchant payments. ठीक है, recently only we had a agreement with Nepal Rashtra Bank in context of what? Anyone? कुछ ही हफ्ते पहले हम लोगों ने ये न्यूज़ पढ़ी थी। We had this agreement with respect to cross border remittances, ठीक है। तो उसी के कंटिन्यूएशन में you get this information that specifically with PhonePe we are actually tying up. So NPCIL and NPCI international payments having tie up with PhonePe for facilitating cross border UPI transactions between India and Nepal. ठीक है, इसमें इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है, आप नाम याद करके रखें PhonePe का, this will benefit you. Next is a report by WTO, okay, telling us about the global trade outlook for Q1 2024. So how WTO sees that Q1 of 2024 will be in context of global trade. ठीक है, तो they are saying that global trade in goods may rebound in the first quarter after a weak performance in 2023, and there were various reasons associated with it. कि there were huge conflict. Russia Ukraine was already continuing, then again Israel Hamas conflict also came, and there were various issues that were creeping up in the global trade routes. For example, Houthi rebel attacks and all those things, okay, that led to weak performance of global trade in 2023. Okay, so WTO is saying that it is probable that in Q1 financial year 24 we'll be seeing a rebound, okay, and they are saying the current trade barometer reading is 100.6. Above 100 means it will grow, below 100 and it will decline. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इज नेशनल पेंशन स्कीम फंड्स परफॉर्मेंस। तो बेसिकली आप लोग जब एनपीएस में अपना पैसा डालते हो तो पैसा जाता कहाँ है? फंड मैनेजर्स के पास जाता है। दीज फंड मैनेजर्स ट्राई टू इंक्रीज द वैल्यू ऑफ वट एवर फंड्स दैट दे हैव रिसीव्ड अंडर एनपीएस स्कीम। तो वो इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, ठीक है। इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के बाद जितना कमा लेते हैं उसमें से आपको जितना परसेंटेज उन्हें देना होता है तो वो आपको दे देते हैं, ठीक है। So this equity returns in this year surged to 34.27%. खूब कमाई कर ली बेसिकली। आपको अगर मान लीजिए देना भी है तो कितने परसेंट इंटरेस्ट देना है? यूजुअली पेंशन में तो हर सरकार कहती है कि 8% बढ़ा देंगे, आपका कॉर्पस बढ़ जाता है। 8% के साथ अगर आप ऑन एन एवरेज भी उठा लो तो इन्होंने अच्छी खासी कमाई कर ली। सो दिस इज व्हाट द रिव्यू इज। With respect to asset growth, NPS assets grew by 30% on a Y-on-Y basis, reaching 11.5 lakh crore. अब इसमें से equity allocation total 12.1 lakh crore. Market outlook: India's market cap will increase to 10 trillion. Subscriber base of NPS is right now 7.92 lakh. New subscribers joined NPS so far in this fiscal year. Okay. Then we have growth trajectory. It took 6 years and 6 months for NPS to reach 1 lakh crore after implementation in 2009. Okay. If any question will come, this will probably be coming as a what? Interest, how much performance the NPS fund managers have achieved in context of investments. ठीक है. Next is study on gig workers conditions. So this is a very important report. All of you should remember it because services is an important chapter, and you can also utilize the data within this report in context of social justice. ठीक है, and after seeing the highlights you will be able to realize that how we can utilize it in context of social justice. So see, this is the study conducted by People's Association in Grassroots Action and Movements and Indian Federation of App-Based Transport Workers with technical support from University of Pennsylvania and Frederick Ebert Stiftung, India. ठीक है, तो एजेंसीज तो एक का नाम याद कर लेना एटलीस्ट, पेंसिल्वेनिया वगैरह ये सब तो ठीक है। But these agencies have conducted a study about what's the situation of gig workers in India. Gig workers basically transport कह रहा हूँ, contractual workers which usually work without social security, but in order to provide them social security as well, the provision has been added in Code on Social Security by the government. ठीक है, and these workers are such as Ola, Uber drivers, Swiggy delivery partners. So what's the findings? In context of work hours, almost a third of app-based cab drivers work for over 14 hours a day. More than 83% work for more than 10 hours and 60% work over 12 hours daily. ठीक है? Now, this is the thing that I was telling you about, that you can utilize the data in context of social disparities as well. So over 60% of drivers are from scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. ठीक है, sorry, over 60% of drivers from scheduled caste, scheduled tribes work over 14 hours a day. But if you see the data points in comparison to unreserved category, only 16% from unreserved category work 14 hours a day. ठीक है, तो this social disparity you can mention in social justice because this is happening in private space. ठीक है, it's not like it is happening in public sector companies or public sector agencies. ये private space में भी हो रहा है, then you can mention about it. Next, 43% of participants earn less than 500 a day, 15,000 a month. After deducting all costs, 34% of app-based delivery persons earn less than 10,000 a month, 78% spend over 10 hours daily at work. ठीक है, और डे ऑफ की बात करें तो 40% of app-based workers surveys don't take a single day off in a week. अब ये कोई कंपनी के पेरोल पे तो चल नहीं रहा है, ठीक है, इट्स कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल, तो आप जितना काम करोगे उतना आपको पैसा मिलेगा, पैसा कम है तो लोग ज़्यादा काम करते हैं, है ना. सो दैट्स व्हाई यू सी सच टाइप ऑफ फाइंडिंग्स ओवर देयर. सो यू कैन टेल or utilize this in context of employment chapter also. ठीक है, आप उस वहाँ पे भी यूटिलाइज कर सकते हो that even though employment is there in form of gig economy but protection तो कुछ भी नहीं है ना, कोई rules and regulation नहीं है with respect to working condition and all those things, social security नहीं है इनके पास. Okay, so we and this will become a single entity or single grouping, just like how MSME, just like how women, or just like how these entities are there. Okay, तो ये भी एक अलग grouping बन जाएगी for which the government and the private sector needs to take care upon. Is this clear to everyone how to utilize the data? Chalo, let's move on. National and state news. So Prime Minister Modi announced 100 rupees cut in LPG refill price. ठीक है, बस इतना याद कर लेना, और तो क्या ही है इसमें. Next is India's first cooperative museums will be started in Kozhikode. Okay, it will host India's first international cooperative museum, which will have renowned cooperative brands like Amul, Indian Coffee House, IFCO, and Kerala Dinesh BD. Okay, it was initiated by Karasari Service Cooperative Bank, a 150 crore project, okay, which began in 2016, but now it has been successfully started. Next is PM visits Kaziranga National Park. The news is important because this Kaziranga National Park is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. तो इसको बस थोड़ा याद करके रख लेना. Next is India's open access solar capacity growth in 2023. So open access solar capacity is like that you are establishing a solar power plant within your premises only and then utilizing that electricity for your own purposes. आप electricity कहीं बाहर से नहीं खरीद रहे हो, ठीक है, अपना प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो, अपना कमा के प्रोड्यूस करके यूटिलाइज कर रहे हो. सो सच टाइप ऑफ फैसिलिटीज हैव रिकॉर्डेड एन इंक्रीज अप टू 3.2 गीगावाट इन 2023. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज प्राइम मिनिस्टर डेडिकेट्स सेला टनल प्रोजेक्ट इन अरुणाचल प्रदेश. प्लीज रिमेंबर द नेम. ओके, सो द program was Viksit Bharat Viksit Northeast, in which Sela Tunnel project was launched, which provided a all-weather connectivity from Tezpur to Tawang. ठीक है, it's the longest by-lane tunnel till now. ठीक है, and the cost was 825 crores. Sela Tunnel from Tezpur to Tawang. Next is projects unveiled by Prime Minister Modi in Assam. ठीक है, बहुत सारे projects हैं, important चीजें anyways याद करके रखना. For example, like Sena Tunnel and all those things. Okay, the important thing is over here is Medical College and Hospital is inaugurated at Sivsagar. Okay, Hemato-Lymphoid Center established in Guwahati. Sela Tunnel we've already discussed. Next is resignation of Arun Goyal, election commissioner. ठीक है. The importance of this news is that first of all you understand that who is outgoing commissioner, जो चले गए उनका नाम एटलीस्ट आपको पता होना चाहिए. अरुण गोयल, he has resigned, and when the upcoming election commissioner will be appointed, so that becomes important for phase 1 GA. इलेक्शन कमीशन से बड़ी बॉडी तो है नहीं, है ना, तो उनके अपॉइंटमेंट जो भी होंगे, तो दैट टाइप ऑफ न्यूज एनीवेज इज इंपॉर्टेंट इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ फेज 1 GA, चाहे RBI में हो चाहे अदर बैंकिंग एग्जामिनेशन में हो. Next is unveiling of India's fastest internet protocol, multi-protocol label switching router. So just remember the company. Nivetti Systems unveiled India's fastest homegrown internet protocol label switching router in Bengaluru. And it operates on India's first and only fully indigenous operating system called Nivetti NIOS. Okay, so this name is very important. This Nivetti name, please remember this. Next is international news. So Asif Ali Zardari elected as Pakistan's 14th president. He belongs to Pakistan People's Party, PPP. Next news is with respect to Saudi Arabia government transferring $164 billion or 8% stake from Aramco to public investment funds. ठीक है, तो basically अपना stake कम कर दिया है. So what do we call such type of practices when the government do so? Anyone? When they reduces their stake. For example, take example of this 8% stake reduce किया. Privatization नहीं बोलते हैं. Privatization तो बेचना हो गया. Disinvestment. Yes, correct. Okay, so they have reduced their stake. That's what the news is all about. With respect to MOU or agreement, it's a very important agreement. So India signs trade pact with 4 European countries. जिनका association क्या है? European Free Trade Association. Okay. So India has signed a free trade agreement with EFTA. The countries within which are Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland. Please remember, it's a very important feat. Just like how India-UAE FTA was an important feat, similar to that nature, India and EFTA, FTA is an important news. Okay, so this trade economic partnership agreement also aims to achieve $100 billion in investments in India and create 1 million jobs within 15 years. 15 साल. ठीक है, ये सारी चीजें याद करके रखनी है. What's the time duration and what's the amount, in which the features are significant tariff reduction, increased market access. It includes a chapter on commitment to human rights and sustainable development, separate from European Union. The participating countries belong to EFTA. ठीक है, it's not like European Union के साथ हमारा हो गया. EFTA is a different organization or different association of countries having only 4 countries. ठीक है, Iceland, Norway, Liechtenstein and Switzerland. Now with respect to defense, so Navy's Minicoy base strengthened with BrahMos backing. ठीक है, so India's Navy base INS Jatayu on Minicoy Island is undergoing upgrades. BrahMos missile भी हम लोग लेके आ रहे हैं इधर. And why are we focusing too much on this? Because हम लोग इधर focus क्यों कर रहे हैं? What's the main reason that the government of India is focusing too much on Maldives right now in terms of or too much on Lakshadweep? Because of China. Because Maldives has allowed China to provide or China to come defensively on their territory as well. Next is infrastructure development is also happening. Operational capabilities, radar facilities, BrahMos missiles with a range of 450 km provide flexibility in responding to threats. And INS Jatayu is in Lakshadweep, INS Paz in Andaman. They serve as critical assets for Navy's surveillance. Okay. Next is Navy demonstrates twin carrier operations. Okay. इसमें कुछ नहीं है. 2 एयरक्राफ्ट कैरियर्स हैं, ठीक है, दोनों से मिग उड़ाए गए एक साथ सिंक्रोनाइज करके. दैट इज व्हाट ट्विन कैरियर ऑपरेशंस आर. इज फ्री ट्रेड अग्रीमेंट इन, हाँ इन लाइन, हाँ ठीक है, वो तो उसमें अलाउड है ना. WTO डू नॉट प्रोहिबिट इट. नेक्स्ट इज सेंटर ऑर्डर टू कर्ब टेल गेटिंग ऑफ डिजी यात्रा पैसेंजर्स. तो ये टेल गेटिंग क्या होती है? आप लोगों ने देखा होगा, आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव वेंट टू मेट्रो स्टेशंस. तो होता है ना कि एक कोई यू नो एन इंडिविजुअल इज सो मच क्लोज टू यू, और आपको लग रहा है कि इतना क्लोज क्यों आ रहा है, जबकि उसका मोटिव केवल सिंपल सा है कि आप जब अपना टिकट से पास करोगे तो वो भी दौड़ के पास हो जाएगा पीछे से बिना टिकट लिए, है ना. तो इसको क्या कहते हैं हम लोग? टेल गेटिंग. किसी के साथ साथ मशीन को ऐसे पास कर जाए बिना टिकट लिए. और सिमिलरली लौटते समय भी वही करना है, किसी के साथ ऐसी पीछे वहाँ भीड़ तो रहती है, तो किसी ने पास, कोई बंदा पास कर रहा है अपना मेट्रो कार्ड लगा के, उसी के संग संग पीछे निकल लिए, है ना. तो मेट्रो में हो जाए तो चलो ठीक है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, बट डिजी यात्रा यूज करके वहां फ्लाइट में भी पहुंच गए लोग, ठीक है. तो वो जो बोर्डिंग एरिया होता है, यू नो, 2 पैसेंजर्स विदाउट प्रॉपर टिकट वर फाउंड टू बी एक्सेसिंग बोर्डिंग एरियाज एज वेल. तो देख लो, ठीक है. तो सरकार ने कहा यार ये सब चीजें अलाउड नहीं है, टेल गेटिंग, तो वी नीड टू कर्ब दीज प्रैक्टिसेस. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज इंडियन प्राइवेट रिसर्च स्पेस रिसर्च ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस लॉन्च डिटेल्स. तो देखो, दिस इज अ वेरी गुड डेटा फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू गाइज to understand that how many space companies in terms of private startups are there in India. ठीक है. Agnikul Cosmos, they are announcing that they will be launching India's second privately built rocket, Agniban, sorted. Then we have Skyroot Aerospace. This plans to launch a 3-stage orbital rocket. Then we have Pixel also, launching a constellation of hyperspectral satellites. Bellatrix Aerospace tested electric and green fuel propulsion system. We also have Dhruva Space, tested platform for small satellites in space. ये सारी कंपनीज को आप नाम याद कर लो. You can utilize this in various, you know, progress of India as well in terms of science and technology development. Then let's focus on sports news. So 22nd National Federation Cup Junior Under-20 Athletics Championship. Okay, in men's 3000 meter category, Gaurav Bhaskar from Maharashtra won. In women 3000 meter category, Shilpa Dhora from Gujarat won. It was happening in Lucknow. Okay, athletes from various states participated in championship. Next is Kush Mani historic achievement. So Invicta Racing F2 रेसिंग, F1 F2 आप लोगों ने सुना ही होगा. F1 कार रेसिंग, F2 कार रेसिंग. और F1 F2 में डिफरेंस केवल वो इंजन के हॉर्स पावर का रहता है. ठीक है. जस्ट लाइक वेट कैटेगरीज होती हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ रेसलिंग, सिमिलरली इंजन की पावर की कैटेगरी के बेसिस पे F1 F2 ये सारे होते हैं. ठीक है. सो इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ F2 रेसिंग, कुश मैनी बिकेम द फर्स्ट इंडियन टू अचीव पोल पोजिशन इन F2 सऊदी अरेबिया ग्रैंड प्री एट जिडा. Next is news with respect to Deepa Karmakar. Okay, she is also an athlete, India's famous athlete. Okay, she secured 4th position in women's vault event in the ongoing Apparatus World Cup in Baku. Next is 7th Santosh Trophy title. So in this you will see Services football team defeated Goa with a solitary goal to secure their 7th Santosh Trophy title. Okay, the competition was held in Mahabalipuram. Okay, so services, if you see, services football team is a Indian Armed Forces football team. ठीक है, ऐसे मत कहना कि ये सर्विसेज क्या ले आए हम लोग, सेक्टर की बात यहाँ कैसे चल रही है. नेक्स्ट इज टेनिस. सो वी हैव दिस ITF women tennis tournament happening in Nagpur, in which Dalila Jakupovic from Slovenia, she was the winner. In context of polo, okay, where the Savai Mansingh Gold Vase tournament was going on, okay, happening in Jaipur Polo Ground. The champions were Rajinikanth Achievers. The most valuable player, Hur Ali. This we've already done. So Athletic Federation of India plans for 2036 Olympics excellence. ठीक है, in Thiruvananthapuram. Max Verstappen victory at Saudi Arabian GP. This is what we call F1 racing. ठीक है. Lastly, a global maritime trade report from UN UNCTAD. ठीक है. So this is also an important report which is talking about various issues that the global trade is currently facing. For instance, it says that decline in ship transits by up to 40% compared to their peaks because of issues in Red Sea as well as in, Panama canals. Panama canal कहाँ पर है? In America. ठीक है, आपको पता है अमेरिका ऐसा है. अब अमेरिका में इधर से ट्रांसपोर्ट करने के लिए इधर, if you go by road, then it will attract huge amount of ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट. पानी से कैसे लेके आए, कोई टनल ही नहीं है, कहाँ से नीचे से लेके आए क्या? तो यहाँ पे फिर पनामा टनल बनाई गई, जस्ट लाइक सुएज कैनाल, ओके, टू डू दोस freight transfers. But because there were some issues in Panama Canal as well as Suez Canal, the peak of ship transit declined up to 40%. Okay, because both these canals were facing disruptions, escalating attacks on ship in Red Sea, compounded disruptions in Black Sea due to war in Ukraine. And this naturally disrupted global trade. It forced companies to reroute transit via Cape of Good Hope. ठीक है, बेसिकली अगर आपका सुएज कैनाल बंद हो गया, दिस इज अफ्रीका, अगर ये ब्लॉक हो गया तो आपको फिर केप ऑफ गुड होप से फिर यूरोप जाना पड़ेगा. दैट इज व्हाट रीराउटिंग इज. ओके, सो दिस इज ऑल फॉर टुडे. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we'll wind up this session. Keep revising, and we'll meet tomorrow at 3:30 for RBI circulars. तो उससे पहले आप लोग एक बार circulars पढ़ के भी आ जाना, so that will help you in understanding those circulars a bit more. ठीक है. Akhilendra, you can join CGB test series only. ठीक है. We provide comprehensive test series with respect to RBI Grade B. Trade data you can utilize in context of global trade. ठीक है. Indian exports and import data. We will provide you update with respect to this, Akhilendra. ठीक है. All of you will be notified with respect to test series for RBI Grade B whenever we'll be launching with respect to that. Currently, test series is going on in the course itself. The course mein you can do so. Anything else? Anyone? Chalo. Thank you guys for joining. We'll meet in the next session. Till then, keep on revising the current affairs and everything that you're learning over here.